Hi, Jesse Williams coming to you from Oars-N-Mine Bait and Tackle. Today we're going to talk about some frog presentations. And the reason we're covering these is because frogging around the area has blown up in recent years. Bass fishing in general across this, I'd say Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, is becoming more and more popular every year. And with it, some of the techniques have advanced and some of the presentations have gotten much better. The old topwater frogs of years back are kind of gone, and some of the new designs that these bait companies are coming out with are absolutely amazing. Three of them that we've highlighted here are three of the most popular ones, and the companies that brought these out are also kind of leading the way in the industry. We have Lunkerhunt, and this is their most popular offering. It's called the Lunker Frog. And if you look at the Lunker Frog, it's a 2 1/4 inch bait or 2.5 inch bait, ½ ounce. What differentiates this one between the other two that we're going to highlight is that this frog has legs. When you go to the 13 Fishing, this is called the Trash Panda. Now this Trash Panda, a little longer body. This is about a 3-inch body. It's got a skirted leg rather than an actual molded leg, and that's typically what you see in a lot of these frogs. This company has come on really strong in the last few years, and all their product offerings are really sharp, very good looking, and they catch fish. And when you go to, this is kind of the one that set the stage and up the frog game. This is the Pad Crasher from Booyah. Now the Pad Crasher, there's many different offerings within the Pad Crasher lineup. They have a poppin' frog, they have a junior frog. This is the traditional Pad Crasher. And again, just like the 13 Fishing frog, it has the silicone skirted legs, no molded legs. It's just one-piece body. Some of the design cues from each one, they're just a little bit different. But these are three frogs that are very interesting because they sell very well. We see it here in the retail sales in the store. The days of the old Renoski frog are long gone, and now we have, brand new offerings from these companies. Everybody is kind of evolutionizing the way that they fish a frog and make a frog. And these are three that we really want to see what they do on the water, see how they fish differently, and see what the big hype is behind each frog. So we're going to take you out on the water. We're going to do a little test run with each one, and you can decide for yourself which one fits your needs. We're out here on the water now, as you can tell. And if you look around us, this is the perfect scenario for what a frog is used for. We've got heavy pad cover, some dense vegetation underneath it, some bigger pads, a mix of small pads, big lily pads, and pockets. And so that's where these frogs really shine. We're going to give you a little run through on how each frog performs. I'm going to do a straight retrieve without twitching the rod, just a constant reeling motion. One key with all of these frogs is once it hits the water, you want to give it a little pause, let the ripples settle. We don't have ideal conditions as far as wind today, but we are in a calm area of the lake, heavy cover, and we'll do a steady cast and retrieve, and then I'll do another cast and we'll do kind of a twitching action, the same low tip, just subtle twitches, and we'll see just how these frogs perform. First up is the Booyah Pad Crasher. Now, I said back at the shop that I have a personal preference. I am a fan of these Pad Crashers, and one thing I really enjoy about these Pad Crashers is the weight. Now, all of these frogs have a fairly decent amount of weight to them, but just like anything else, you don't want a light frog. Once you've kind of found one that works, you kind of tend to stick with it. This Booyah Pad Crasher was one of the first ones that I found that really worked. So next up, we've got the Lunkerhunt Lunkerfrog, and as you can tell, this one is quite a bit different. You got the rubber legs with the kicker feet on it, very realistic looking. We're going to do the same type of presentation. Going to do a cast and retrieve steady, so you can see if those legs have much for action. We're also going to do the twitch, just a subtle low rod twitch, and see what happens. So here we go. Little bit more action maybe, hard to tell. It glances off the pads pretty decent, as does the Booyah Pad Crasher. does ride a little bit lower in the water from what I can tell. When you get it in close, you can see there is a little bit of action with those legs, but not much on a steady retrieve. So pretty basic.
That was good. Gotcha. That's good.
Now I don't know if this is by design, but I wanted to point this out. You take this frog, you see the water coming out of it. Now I've had this out of the water for probably a minute and only made about 5 or 6 casts. I don't know, again, I don't know if this is by design, but one of the things I noticed with all these lunker frogs when I fish them is that the body tends to fill with a little bit of water. And it's noticeable, there's some more water coming out of it. It is noticeable. In my preference, I like a frog that rides right on the surface. So that's completely up to you. If you want a frog, and it could be by design so that it works a little bit subsurface, but I like a frog to literally be on top of the water at all times, so I have no problem seeing strikes, knowing where the frog is. The other thing you get is when you're fishing in these heavy pads, it's easy to roll this across top of a pad, but a lot of times vegetation grows right up to the bottom of those pads, which causes any lure that's just below the surface or riding really low with the hooks up will catch and drag on weeds. So I did get some vegetation on those casts. I had a harder time seeing it. It does make a nice plop, but we're going to go on to the next one. We're going to try the Trash Panda. Next up, we got the Trash Panda from 13 Fishing. Now, something I noticed now fishing with it and doing a little more of an in-depth product review, if you will, or comparison, it's got a longer, slimmer body, which was really noticeable in the package. And I've fished with these before, and I never noticed, but if you look closely on this body, there's actually kind of tapered grooves where the hooks are in place on the body. And so it's a very angled edge on the outside, and it's basically... It definitely serves a purpose. It's almost as if they molded it that way to better hide the hooks, but also, you know, because it's a soft body, those hooks are definitely exposed as soon as you compress it. So if a fish gets this in its mouth, no problem getting the hooks buried. You got a tinsel skirt with the silicone legs, in addition to kind of separates it a little bit, at least from the Booyah Pad Crasher. So we're gonna give her a couple rips and see what happens. All the bluegills pumping out of there before right as the frog was getting to those pads. All right, final thoughts or impressions on these lures. All of them very, very good looking lures. They all serve their purpose. You know, we started with the Booyah Pad Crasher, and I said it before, this is kind of my go-to frog. Now, I may change my mind, and some of these frogs that we tried, actually all of them, definitely could have their place. I'll continue to throw, you know, a bunch of pad crashers, but I'm definitely going to have a few of these in the mix now. And this is something, it's a personal preference thing. You know, the silicone skirt, these are, I think, a 2 3/4 inch frog, and just a nice weight. They cast well, very durable rubber, you know, and there's no internal weight other than an additional rubber weight in the body, so a little heavier molded piece. When you go onto the Lunkerhunt Frog, the Lunker Frog, the leg action on these is amazing. And you don't see it when you're casting way out and doing a retrieve. You see it up close. We did some shots up close to the boat, and that was kind of a selling point to me. I couldn't believe how well these legs really kick. The frog has its imperfections, if you will, in my mind, but maybe it'll fit right into your arsenal. And that's a 2.5 inch bait. I believe it's a 1/2 ounce. Booyah doesn't really publish, at least on the package, what the specs are on this. I did measure. It's a 2 3/4 inch body. Not sure of the weight. Very comparable to the Lunkerhunt. And then going to the Trash Panda. Again, very impressed. There are some design cues here that you can tell that 13 really put a lot of thought into this frog. The rubber feels very durable, even more so than the Pad Crasher. It's got some defined ridges on the body. And again, this kind of hook keeper, if you will, is really a neat design trick. Now, each one of these frogs has a different price point too. On the Booyah Pad Crashers, you're talking in that $6 to $7 range. On the Lunkerhunt Lunkerfrog, you're talking that $7 to $8 range. And the Trash Panda retails for around 10 bucks, regardless of where you buy it. If you can find it cheaper, that's a heck of a steal. I could see using this frog a lot more. Each one of them has a different nose action. When you're twitching the rod, varying the retrieve through the pads rather than just glancing it off of the pads. The Trash Panda, because of this super slim design nose, seems to ride different. It doesn't splash. It just kind of bobs up, bobs up. The Lunkerhunt had almost a subsurface type splash, more of a ripple effect. And the Booyah Pad Crasher, I mean, none of these frogs are really popping frogs. These are the standard frogs, so they're not meant to make a big splash, but the Booyah Pad Crasher did have a pretty decent splash to it. So leave a comment in the section down below. Let us know if you have a preference, or if you fished all 3 of these frogs and you really have found one to shine in one situation and another shines in a different one. Like I say, all 3 of these will probably be riding in my boat the rest of the season. They'll definitely get some time and use. Appreciate it.